Hi guys, and welcome back to Football Manager 2017 as Real Madrid. Now, where we left off last time, we had just sold Nacho and secured the money that we need to go and find ourselves a better centre back. So, in we go to the scouting tab here. And this episode, mostly what we're going to be doing is looking for who is going to be this defender, trying to make a bid, maybe securing his services, and then next episode we're probably going to try and press on and move through a lot of time, because I don't want to spend too many videos sort of slugging it out for, a week, and the week is dragged over 20-25 minutes of video time. I don't want to do that. So what I want to do is get this defender in, and then perhaps next episode jump forward. So let's do it. This episode is really going to focus on scouting, like the last episode focused on the tactics. So a lot of the players in the game, I obviously have real life knowledge of these players. So for example, Musakio here was recommended by the scouts earlier. I knew I didn't want him because I have knowledge of the player, and I'm not going to sign him for Real Madrid because he's not of the standard to play for Real Madrid. Sometimes when you play the game, you get a recommendation from the scouts for someone you're not overly familiar with. This might be a phenomenal example here. So for example, this player, how tall is he? 181. So he's not a particularly tall player, and he's not great at jumping. Heading's okay. First touch 12, however, and passing 14. So decent mental stats for a player his age, only 21 years old. He's listed for loan. Obviously we're not going to loan him, but he's a decent player. He's one to maybe keep an eye on for the future, because he's really going to be that ball playing defender. But because he is relatively short, not great at jumping or heading, he is going to need a monster beside him. He's going to need a larger defender who can deal with these things. If we take a quick look here, I like to compare these players to the players we have. So Varane, for example, if you look at him, his jumping 17, heading 14, and he's 191, so he's a tall guy. So he is going to possibly be a suitable partner for that guy down the line. But this guy's not ready yet, so we're going to keep an eye on him, remember him, and we'll come back to him later on. So that's just, for example, when you can find a... I mean, I've never seen this chap before. So that's a player who the game has recommended to us through the scouting system, and we've had a look at him, and we maybe have a player for the future. However, what we're going to do now mostly is depend on my knowledge of the players. So we might do some scouting in-game on the individual particular players. So I'm not going to send a scout out on a mission to find a central defender and see what they say, but I might say, Bonucci, get me a report so I know our chances of getting him and how much money we're expected to pay for him, etc. I'm not going to sign Bonucci unless he comes back and says I can get him for 5 million or something, because I want this to be one for the future. So what I could do is filter by age to ensure that we get defender age at most 23 years old, for example, right? So this player is not going to be a first team player, but he's going to be a player that I expect to be able to play on rotation. So I expect to be able to play him at home against weaker sides in the league. I expect to be able to play him in the Spanish Cup, and I expect to be able to play him against weaker sides in the Champions League. Because one of the advantages we have as a relatively strong club, as a particularly strong club, is that our Champions League group stage games, barring some group of death draw where we have another giant in our group, we can pretty much just cruise the group. So against our really weak our really weak opponents, we can go and play a weaker side. So we can deal with that. Now, Jonathan Tah or I don't know how to pronounce it in real life. I've always called him Jonathan Tah, so I will continue to do so. He becomes a superstar, so we want to go and look at him, see if we could secure his services. We also want to go and look at Rugani at Juventus. I've seen a couple of teams buy him before, so if we can get him, that's good as well. He's a good ball player. And we want, crucially again, we're looking at players who are ball playing defenders. Now this role doesn't necessarily have to be at the top, it could be down here at the bottom, it could only have a couple of rungs, but if they have the good first touch, the passing, as well as the regular heading, marking, tackling, concentration of a defender, then we obviously will look at those players as well. Now, we're getting into territory now where these players aren't of the quality that I'd be expecting. So, for example, Romagnoli, he's a good player, but he's going to cost a lot of money. I've played a Juventus game before, and trying to get him costs you a ton of money. So I don't expect us to be able to get him. I'm expecting Rugani here from Juventus to be the most likely target here. And we've just went down, I mean, here we go, Victor Lindelof of... there we go, he's a good example of Benfica. Now I know he becomes a star as well, so although a couple of stats we're not overly sure of, and 12 for tackling doesn't seem that high, but I know he's a great player. So I have no problem signing him. I know what he develops into. Again, if you didn't know that, you would scout him and develop your knowledge of him, and the scout will probably come back with that scout report there and tell us that he could be a player for the future. But I just know that obviously because of my knowledge of the game. Have a little look down here, but I'm not really going to take it much further. No. So we're going to advance here and just to get those scout reports back. So we can have a little look at who's going to be our most likely target, and we can go and pursue him and hopefully secure him. And I've just remembered that we actually have a player in our either under 19s or our B squad. Now we have Martin Odegaard there, but I know we just received a bid for him. I believe in our reserve squad we should have a defender. Yep, there we go. An Austrian defender, Philipp Leinhardt. And he could become a good player for us, I think. Perhaps not someone who's going to start every game, but we can see first touch 12, passing 12, heading, marking, tackling, concentration. He's got good stats. Jumping only 12. He's 185, so he's not the tallest player. But he could become something, certainly. Now, oops. Clicked the wrong chap there. So he's an interesting one for me. I'm going to offer him out. I'm just going to offer the same deal as before. The 60,000, the 100k. I doubt we're going to get it for him, but it's worth a shot. Try and get 100%. 2,900 a week is not particularly huge. Key player, preferred position, defender, centre. Let's see if I can... I don't appear to be able to... Unless I'm missing the option. I don't appear to be able to tell him to play him as a ball playing defender. Maybe I'm missing it, but as long as he gets game time, he should develop. So hopefully we can loan him out. But let's go back here. They want Hermoso as well. Okay. Again, I'm happy to loan out most players. And again, squad rotation I'm not particularly happy to accept. But I'm going to go in to young Odegaard here, and I'm going to again see what I can do. See if I can get the 60-100 split with the 100% wage. Whoa. Okay, he's on £81,000 a week, so I'm not going to ask for 100% of his wages. I'm gonna I'm going to try 20% and just see what happens. Now here are the reports. So Bonucci would be a great player. He would be interested in the transfer. He would be about the same as Sergio Ramos. He'd be our best defender. Unfortunately, he would cost 57 to 77 million, so there's no way in hell we're going to pick him up. So let's just move on past him. Now here's an interesting one. Ta is obviously extremely interested in this transfer. He's a wonder kid, which is something to look out for, which means he could become a world-class player with the correct nurturing and development. The estimated cost between 30 and 56, which is interesting. We have 38 at the minute, but his wage demands would only be 24 to 46. We have over 200,000, so we can do a little budget adjustment and we can get 40 something million in our transfer budget. So we'll think about putting a bid in for him. But let's just have a look at the rest of our reports just now. Let's take a quick, more in-depth look at him. He would be number 4, so he's behind Pepe, Varane and Ramos, but crucially his potential ability, 3 stars, but again under all the correct circumstances. Basically these black stars, it means the ones that are highlighted in gold is pretty much, the way I think about it is, that is his potential, just period, because of who he is. The black stars are his potential under the correct circumstances. So if he's nourished perfectly, he gets the correct amount of game time, the proper training, he's at a club with the highest training facilities, he gets maybe a good tutor, then the black stars come into play and you could become 5-star player, which is almost unheard of at teams like Real Madrid. So that these stars are obviously scaled. So if we were a club like Valencia, his current ability stars would be higher because it's proportional to what club you are. So if you're at Real Madrid and you have 5 stars, that's insane. You're talking about a legend in the game. You're talking about one of the best players to ever play football if you have 5 stars for Real Madrid. So under the correct circumstances, he could get there. But over time, this is going to decay and his potential ability will go down a little bit. But if he could get to 4 stars, that's the same as Ramos, which would be incredible. So let's move on a little bit. Now, Rugani would be one of the cheaper players. 19.75 to 36.5. His wage demands a little bit higher than Tabit, a lot lower than Bonucci, who was wanting 200,000 or something, if I remember right. And again, similar potential and about the same current ability. So he's definitely one I'm interested in. Romagnoli, they don't want to sell. AC Milan don't want to sell him to us. So although again he's another good one, estimated cost, we just have a line here. We don't have any estimated cost because the chances are we're not going to get him. So let's just ignore him. No point in getting caught up. Now, Victor Lindelof, we have the same situation here. They don't want to sell, right? However, if we look at Romagnoli, or Romagnoli, or however you wish me to pronounce it, he's worth £12 million and he's playing for AC Milan. Now, Victor Lindelof is worth 6.25 and he's playing for Benfica. So, does not want to sell Romagnoli basically equates to we're going to have to pay 50 million or something absolutely ludicrous. Does not want to sell Lindelof doesn't necessarily mean that. We could maybe bag him for 25, 30 or something like that, right? So he's one to keep in mind as well. And then, it's just a report on Villarreal. Hopefully, it's saying Asensio here is going to be one of their key players for the season. I hope that's true because we need him to develop. So what we're going to do is we've identified Ta and Rugani as our main targets here, right? So what we're going to do is put out some feelers. We'll bid 30, and we'll go on the low end of the scouts' thoughts, and we'll see what they say. So we bid the 30 million, and they've come back with 62 million plus this percentage of profit. Now, the way to think about this, and this is where it becomes a bit of a mechanical thing, which I don't particularly like, but such as a game. They can't really do anything else other than make it play with certain algorithms and so forth. So we bid 30 million, and they've negotiated it to 62 million, which is 32 million above what we've bid. Generally speaking, they want half of the extra money. So they say they want 32 over what we've offered. They actually want then 16 above what we offered. So we offered 30. I can deduce from this that they want 46 million for him, right? Now, just now, I'm going to walk from that. I think we could probably afford that with wage budget adjustments, but I'm going to go and get Rugani, I think. We might face a bit of competition here from Arsenal, Man City and Tottenham, but we're Real Madrid, so we really should be able to get him. I'm going to go in with a bid of 22, which is the Nacho situation. So they want... See, I can only put... Unfortunately, that's been locked by... It's semi-negotiable. Juventus have said they're not going to... They're definitely wanting some sort of clause as a percentage of profit, which means if we sell him on, they want 20%, they want a fifth of however much money we make above what we pay them. So it's not the end of the world, and that's as low as I can put it, unfortunately. So they've negotiated up about 10, so they want about 27.5, which I'm willing to just give them. I could play around with it in monthly installments, and that will take it down. So for example, we could get the total cost of this season's budget to go down to maybe 15, but I don't foresee much more business on our end, so I'm just going to give them the money just now, and it won't factor into any future budgets or anything. So I'm going to I'm just going to bid 27.5, and they've taken it. So we'll finalise that bid, send over the paperwork and so forth to them. Okay. A lot of teams saying no to Lineheart. Okay. Wow, a lot of teams saying no to Lineheart. Okay, that's probably because of the finances we outlined. They probably don't want to be paying the 60,000 fee and his, it's probably more to do with that rather than his wages. Espanyol saying no to Odegaard. Again, a lot of that's probably due to the wages. Okay, so here's the Rugani thing. So he wants to be a rotational player. Would he accept hot prospect? No. Backup? Dubious. We'll give him rotation because that is probably the role I see him taking. And Lineheart, okay. Lineheart and Odegaard, there have been offers made. So the offers for Odegaard are both squad rotation, which I have no interest in. I'd rather he played for our reserves. Lineheart, because there's 18 bids, I'm going to go in and deal with it here. So I want to look at the amount of football he'll be getting, and then look at the finances. So most of these look to be squad rotation. Austria, Vienna, or Austria Vienne. Okay, 100% of his wages, plus they're paying the fees that we want. I will accept their bid with a first team regular assurance. Legia Warsaw, what we want, wages and everything. Yep, first team regular, I accept that. Rangers. It's ironic here because I really know about the potential of this player because I loaned him for Celtic for something like 3 consecutive seasons, and I turned him into Borussia Dortmund's best defender. Okay, I'll accept Rangers' loan bid as well, and we'll see what happens. I don't think he'll go to Rangers, but we'll see what happens. And I'm going to reject everything else because I've had a scan over it and things, Atalanta are meeting the financial part of it, but they're not giving him the football. Apoel the other way round, giving him the football but not meeting the financial. So I'm just going to reject everything else, and he'll go to one of those clubs. Okay, so here's the contract negotiation. We can walk away, which means we've decided obviously we don't want to do it anymore. We can just accept that and finalise it, Oh, we can negotiate. Let's negotiate. Earlier on, I didn't move things when I was renewing that rotational players deal. However, when we're dealing in this sort of money, and I can move it by £5,000 or £10,000 or something, I'm going to move it. I'm going to negotiate and see what we can get here. So I'm just going to toy with these a little bit, and I'd like a 5-year deal. I'm just going to, minimum fee release 75, okay, I'm cool with that. I don't want that one in there. I'm willing to give him more of a clean sheet bonus. And let's see what his agent has to say about that offer. Okay, fairly promising start to negotiations. Okay, that's okay. So 61, he's come back. I'll go to 58. Signing on fee 1.8. This, I'll make this 30 games, and I'll make it 70,000. So after he's paid 30 games, he'll go up to 70,000, but he'll start on only 50. I'll see if he'll take 55. He's up to 58. We'll see if we take 56. 5-year deal, 72 after 25 games. I'm happy with that. Hopefully he'll take it this time. Yeah, so we can finalise that and exit the talks. So that went a lot quicker than Nacho to PSG did. Let's just finalise that, dot the I's, cross the T's, and then we'll move on. We'll get into the real action. See, we've had a loan bid for Enzo Zidane here. Now, squad status is rotation, but frankly, he's not very good, which pains me to say considering who his father is, but he's an average player. I'm going to let him go. It's only rotation, but he might get some games, so who knows. A scout report for Bayern Munich, which I would pay a lot more attention to, and I would train them specifically for the Bayern Munich threats, where we're playing them in a real game. For friendly, I don't care that much. We just want to advance the time here so we can seal a deal. Oh, Pepe is missing home and would like to discuss this with us. He's from Portugal. It's not as if he's from the other side of the world. Let's see if he'll take a leave of absence. Hugely appreciated. Right, fine. Go home for a bit. See, Pepe is really good for a season. He'll be a world-class defender as a backup player for the first season. I don't want to lose him. We're not going to get much money for him because he's older, so I'd rather he just be there as backup. So I'm not going to try and sell him to a Portuguese club. I'd rather just let him go on a little holiday to Portugal just now. Okay, Ramos is injured. Thankfully that's happened now and not closer to the start of the season. A loan deal's being completed. Hopefully we can get forward just now. Get the contract for Rogani completed. We'll have ourselves our new player. Scouting and recruitment and everything done. Okay, it's a loan bid. First team football. Yeah. Accept that. I would rather they went out on loan to get first team football than play for a reserve team. Oh dear. Okay, hip injury to Keylor Navas. The injuries are really piling up now. We really just want to get this deal done, completed, and then we can move on. Oh, there's that. There's that guy signing his new contract, and the press asking me about it. Let's ignore both of those things. Okay. complete that loan. A lot of this stuff with the loans and the reserve team and all that going out on loan, and I'll edit a lot of that out for future episodes. A lot of this sort of day-to-day stuff I think I'm going to time skip, because I know there's people out there, there's other YouTubers who do these Football Manager playthroughs, and there's about 5 videos with no match in a row, and it's just meaningless stuff that you don't care about. So I'm going to edit a lot of that stuff out now. What I'm going to do here, though, the reason we're seeing, a 20-minute long episode for recruiting a defender is because it's the most important thing we're going to do just now, and we're not recruiting a wide range of players. So there's that guy who signed his contract, going out on loan. So a lot of this is just waiting for Rugani to sign. So in future seasons, perhaps next season, if we have a budget, 60 million, 80 million, 100 million, whatever it may be, we're going to be doing a lot more scouting, a lot more recruiting, and a lot more, we'll be waiting on answers for lots of different players at the same time. Just now, because it's season 1, we don't have a lot of money sort of comparatively to what we'll have next season. We're really focusing in on one guy, getting this deal done, and then next episode we'll come back with a time skip and we'll get really into the meat of playing a season as Real Madrid. Okay, here we go. So as you can see, Rugani is signing a deal, £27.5 million. We'll be paying him £56,000. We've told him he'll be a rotational member of the squad, so he won't expect to play every week, but he will expect some game time. He won't expect to just be purely a backup. So he can get cup action and he can play against some of the weaker teams. He's going to be better than 90% of the defenders in our league anyway, so he can certainly handle playing a lot of game time, and he will then improve and develop, and in the coming seasons he should be a good replacement for Ramos as Ramos starts to age. We'll be paying Juventus 20% of any profit that we make on him should we sell him on, but I'm not planning to sell him on unless we should get some crazy ridiculous offer like 80 million or something like that. Once he's played the 25 games for us, his wage will rise to 72,000. Not that much. Okay, minimum fee release clause is 75 million. There we go. If I was to sell him, it would cost 75 million. And there's a couple of other clauses in there that aren't too important to us, but there we go. We're gonna put a cut here. We've done a recruitment, bar any crazy bids coming in and players leaving. I don't foresee anyone else joining the club. We have a little bit spare in the budget left over. We have. I'm a bit puzzled. Okay, we apparently still have 38 million, although I'm a bit confused by that. Okay. I don't see us recruiting anymore. I think that's our recruitment done. So we'll put a cut in here. I'll see you next time, where we'll be progressing, towards the start of the season. Hopefully playing a game. There is actually matches of football in this game, I do promise you. So hopefully we'll be progressing to that next time. Thanks for joining us.